Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Know Your Researcher Celebrities. And today, the celebrity which we have is Dr. Sampath Kumar. And Dr. Sampath has done his PhD from Bangalore. And I will say the trademark is not probably a great word to use, but Dr. Sampath is a stalwart in doing mosquito genetics in India. And he has been doing this for so long that now mosquitoes knows his name. So if you're having trouble, you can just tell that, hey, we know Sampath, and they probably will leave you. And I would like to introduce Dr. Sampath in a very short introduction, because if I'll go by his publication list or by his research experience and expertise, it will be a long introduction. Dr. Sampath is someone who has done things in India which not many have done, or probably nobody has done, and not many are doing in India. And he is the one who works with mosquitoes with control, like the way they can stop spreading infections or how they can control the mosquitoes. Let's hear about Dr. Sampath's journey. I would like to welcome Dr. Sampath, and now I would like to ask if you can share your journey, how you entered, why you entered in research at the first place. Sampath.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. And I would say this is a very good platform for exchanging views about different perspectives about science and research that we do. This sort of a platform was lacking for quite some time, because we normally hear about the big people who do big science. But for people like us who have an intermediate career, when we start our journeys and we are midway, probably we are not here, not there, but we are in between. So this would be an ideal platform to share our experiences, learn from others' experiences, and take it forward from there. To begin with, if you just ask me as to what made me join research, probably I'm clueless, because as so-called, there is no desire or there is no ambition for me to become a scientist. It was just that I completed my graduation. And I think during my graduation, I got it a bit serious. So prior to that, I was just a flamboyant boy who used to go to college, come back, not knowing why I'm reading, what I'm reading, what is going to happen, nothing of that sort. So probably during my degree days, I had to teach my fellow friends as to what is being taught in college, because they were not able to follow. And because of these pseudo self-respect or trying to show off before them, I started to read it. So just to explain them. And that's when I started to get the hold of it as to what is that we are being taught about. And then that made me get into several aspects of science as to why this happens, how this happens. And that led me to become a researcher. But I still say I'm not a good researcher as anyone used to be, because earlier there's always a belief that research is always a choice. It's not by chance that careers happen. But I would say definitely for me, it was a chance. But to continue in that chance, I think that's what stands out. Because once you enter into something, if you just do it with a lot of devotion and with a lot of attention to it, with a lot of hard work, that's when we tend to take it forward. And when I just got this by chance, I just did not just take it easy, but I did hard work. And that's how my journey into research started.
So if everyone has listened, Dr. Sampath just mentioned, fake it till you make it. So he started studying by himself to explain it to his colleagues and peers. And this is something which I feel is very peculiar about Dr. Sampath, that he is a very honest person. He does not believe in changing or manipulating even his thoughts. And I think that is something which is very important, that he is there where he is today, because he has never put any filter in a way that if he wants to do research, okay, he might not have thought it, but he is one who's doing it with all the passion. And how about the challenges which you have faced Because as you said, it was not by choice, but by chance. But even in this chance, have you faced any challenges?
A lot many challenges. To begin with, since okay, let me be very honest. When I was studying during my PU, I never knew why I studied trigonometry, algebra, differentiation, integration, and even to this date, I still don't understand why we studied all those things. But the biggest challenge that comes to you when we start our careers is why are we trying to do this? So uh, probably if there's a passion, if there's a desire from the beginning. So I really admire people because admire today's generation who are very well focused. I think they know what they want to do. They would have planned it up. They would have see, okay, 5 years from now I'll be doing this. This is what I want to do. This everything is set up there. They're just right there. But for people like me, I would like to say, we are not planned. We just go as it comes. Like, chalo, we just start our journeys like that. So when you take up some career as a career choice, there'll be a lot of obstacles. I think the biggest obstacle was it took me 4.5 years to complete my PhD. So everyone at home were very happy when I started my PhD because I registered for a PhD program in Bangalore University, and I did. The best part of that was I did get a very good guide who was really a good guide who told me what I was trying to do. So this journey of 4.5 years was fine because wherever I used to go, they used to ask me, what is he doing? They would say, oh, he's doing his PhD. Oh, he's doing PhD. Couple of years, it's fine. So he's in first year of PhD, second year of PhD. And probably the same person who meets you in the function sometime later, you just so go and tell him that what is his son doing now? Last time he was doing his PhD, right? And you say, he's still doing. Oh, still PhD. Then last 4.5 to 5 years, it's hell. Like everybody, oh, he's still doing PhD. He's still doing PhD. Okay. And I would say, there's always a halo around. Like after being a doctorate, you achieve something great. There is red carpet welcome everywhere. It's only good, just like you are getting a degree, sort of a thing. Wherein after doctorate also there is no red carpet invitation to get into any jobs as of now, because everybody asks for different specializations. There are not inadequate amount of vacancies available. So after PhD, that's again a different journey. So it's like you completed your PhD, and at home, the frustration in you makes you tell the whole world that I completed my doctorate and I'm just doctor now. And 6 months down the line, still you'll be jobless. And then somebody comes in and just asks what has happened. So you'll still say, oh, I'm doctorate. I'm still looking for good opportunities. So this sort of journey which you talk about comes with a lot of ups and downs. So that's when we'll have to not leave it. That whatever you there will be always a rationale as to why you chose a particular research topic. So for me, when I just took up insect science or pest science for my research topic, I was very, very keen on insects. So I wanted to study how pests behave, what happens, and how to control them, and so on. So that focus never left me. So I was just hovering around there, trying to identify myself with either pests or mosquito vectors, and so on. So, however, the market out there is not so good for taking scientists who are specialized in these fields. So that is again a challenge, wherein once you have completed your PhD, where you are going to fit in, because you are overqualified for some, you are underqualified for some, and that gives a lot of void there. So, but the best part is patience and perseverance. You have to hold on and not give up your ambitions. Try to keep yourself updated, and these are the challenges I think which time will you have to overcome with that.
Nice, great. So I would like to do a disclaimer to our general public as well as upcoming researchers that we should support and understand what PhD takes. It's not a degree, as my guide used to say, it is a training. It trains you for your society, for the better world. Okay, so respect them more. And I would like to caution our upcoming researchers also that research is something you will face struggle every day. But the beauty of research is you overcome it every day. So there is a challenge, you overcome it, and that's when it's a vicious cycle. It never ends. But that is the best part. And now,
I think
I don't know how to say good or bad thing that has happened, like COVID. Researchers, now people respect them more. People believe that they are the one who does real hard work to take this pandemic or anything which is coming towards any threat as a threat to humanity. They are always there. They are your front warriors. They are the task force who are responsible for our healthcare. So respect them. And now, Dr. Sampath, would you like to tell us a brief of your research?
Initially, I started to work with different insects. My research work is on Wolbachia. So during my doctoral studies, I worked on Wolbachia indosymbiont. I think of late, you would have heard about a lot of mosquitoes being released in different parts of the world, trying to combat dengue and so on. So Wolbachia is an endosymbiont, which is there in mosquitoes. I think 76% of all the insect species, insects, have Wolbachia in them, different species, strains of Wolbachia in them. So Wolbachia is a reproductive manipulator among insects. So the presence or absence of Wolbachia alters their reproductive behavior among insects. So I was quite intrigued trying to use this endosymbiont for its control. And when we started to realize that Wolbachia can be exploited in controlling dengue, because the presence of Wolbachia in Aedes mosquitoes will not allow the dengue virus to multiply. That's when it really took off. A group in Australia started to do a lot of research on this. And then it took off to a next level wherein Wolbachia was trans-infected from different species to Aedes aegypti. And now we have Wolbachia infected Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, which are being used in few parts of the world for control of dengue and so on.
So, yes, please go ahead.
And then I just had the opportunity to join biomanipulation of, I got trained, I think there's a sub-story to it. So when the transfection was to happen, I had to learn about micro-injection of mosquitoes. And that's when there was nobody to help me around in India. So I took help from internet. So that's where I just started to train myself looking at all these videos and so on. But fortunately, after some training and a few publications and so on, finally I met the same person whom I just saw on the video and got myself trained. So Neola Janiskin, she is in University of California, Irvine, under Dr. James Laboratory. So during the course of the journey, I eventually met her and I just told, you are my teacher. Though you have never seen me, you are my teacher. And that's the beauty of science.
And that is something probably what is a long history of India, that people take even statue as a teacher and then they excel in that. And that's probably what Dr. Sampath has followed. So where there is a will, there is a way. And Dr. Sampath is live example of that. As everybody explore your YouTube, internet for so many things. But see, you can actually learn. We have seen people coming up using the technology for a positive outcome. And Dr. Sampath also, as just he mentioned, has done something like that. So as you mentioned that you saw a video on internet and then you said, okay, I will start doing by myself. How, like, you need some instruments, which probably is not that easy. You know, even if you know the technology, sometimes you need to troubleshoot it. So what were the specific challenges when you thought that you want to use manipulation on mosquitoes, and why in first sense you were thinking that you can do something with mosquitoes that they cannot transmit disease? What was the reason behind that?
Wolbachia research, as I mentioned, I was very fortunate to have a guide, Professor H.V. Puttaraju, who worked on Wolbachia. I think he just came back from Cardiff University, and he was the first person who spoke about Wolbachia endosymbiont way back. I think he was the one who introduced Wolbachia research in India. If I'm right, it was 1985. I am not sure about the year, but that's the period when he started to speak about Wolbachia after getting trained in Cardiff University. He came back to Bangalore University, and that's when he spoke about Wolbachia. And his lab started to work on Wolbachia since that time. So as this shaped up, as this started to move around, I don't know whether I'm supposed to say this here. There was no plan for me to use transfection technology to Wolbachia. People knew about Wolbachia being a reproductive manipulator, but the interaction of Wolbachia with dengue was not well studied during that time. So when we started it out, at some point we identified, a group in Australia identified that there are different strains of Wolbachia which can bring down the dengue virus in mosquitoes. So that's when the real interest started. Like, okay, we have our own native strains in India. Why can't we just put them into mosquitoes and see what will happen? So I previously worked on different insect systems like Exoristus orbilans, or oozy fly, something like a housefly sort of a thing, and different pests and so on. So I was working more on what modulates this reproductive anomalies. So why we call this a cytoplasmic incompatibility, wherein the male is infected, female is uninfected. So if they mate, they'll not lay eggs. So we are trying to understand what is the mechanisms and so on. So when this happened, that's when my guide suggested, why don't you look for trying to put in Wolbachia into different insect hosts, or transfection. That we bring in Wolbachia from different system and put it into Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. And very fortunately, during that time, our vice chancellor was generous enough to allot funds for different departments, and we got a generous funding during that time. And what should we take it? What should we take in for those funds? And somehow, micro injection workstation got in. So it is quite costly. So it's around 30-40 lakhs or so. So when you're in a university setup, 40 lakhs of it's like a bounty on my head. So when it was brought in and they so told, okay, we have the instrument, do whatever you want. You asked for it, you got it, now do it. So at that time, there was no plan for me to just say, okay, how I'll take this micro injection setup. But then there was a constant pressure around, like, okay, 40 lakhs on my head. I need to do something with this. So that's when we started to look out, and that's how I found different tutorials, videos, and so on to learn myself as to how microinjection works. And then on earlier times, these were earlier times, protocols were not standardized. Only a few people knew about transfection studies and so on. That's how I learned all these things. That's how the infrastructure was brought in. And that took off. And where I am today is because of those small patches of initial effort that was, I would, at that time, I would say it was a burden on my head, but I think it really paid off because I took that burden, and now it is the one which is giving me all these things.
Thanks, Doctor. So to explain for our general viewer, Dr. Sampath here is talking about injecting something. When he says microinjection, he's injecting something in mosquito eggs. Now, most of you think that mosquito is tiny. He's talking about his egg and he's injecting it. So this is something which sounds very easy or comfortable, but when you do it, it takes years of work to get trained. And if anybody, whosoever is listening this and are interested in working with Dr. Sampath, he's open for collaborations also. So one thing, Dr. Sampath, which I want to ask you is, as you mentioned that your Professor Putturaju was the one who started the talks of Wolbachia in India. And way before, when this Australian group came to do their research, how do you feel that India has to do something where they can be the leaders instead of following the research around the world? What is the limiting factor which you think? Is it something from the students who doesn't want to lead it, or it is because of infrastructure limit, or it is other regulatory issues?
I think it's a combination of all. It's very hard to point out one aspect to it. As I mentioned, if you just take about students' perspective, everyone want to play safe. So if I do something very strange or very different, probably the job market or the research institutions wherein I can just fit myself is not available. So everybody wants to do something related to cancer research, something wherein it's a bigger market, drug discovery programs and so on. So that's a bigger region wherein I can fit myself. So the opportunities are more. If you just talk about the infrastructural support is also a limiting factor, because if there are certain things which are required, and if you are in a university sort of academic setup wherein research and academics go hand in hand, that's a place wherein there will be limited resources. So it will be difficult for them to meet to all your requirements. So I think that's something which most of the students would have faced during their initial stages. Then on, the last part is once you complete all these hurdles and you just reach a stage wherein you can do both basic and exploratory research and applied research, that's when the regulatory aspects come to a picture. So if at all, if the technology or if the science that you are doing is still developing, I think it's always a wait and watch approach in different countries. I think India always prefers to see or wait till something is more comprehensive, like to understand it completely, then take a step forward rather than being hurriedly taking some decisions and it backfiring. So I think a combination of all these things I don't say India is always lagging in few things, but we are just a step back compared to the other friend countries, wherein they just go on bang, bang, bang. And probably we just take cues and then we proceed with caution. I don't say it's wrong, but I think that always keeps us safe. But we are always, I don't say we are leading any science, but we are doing very good science, but we are just being very cautious about it.
But I think that one thing which I understood from this conversation is that it is good to be cautious, because you're doing something and then falling into a pit hole is not what any researcher wants. And specifically for the upcoming researchers, or for the people who are thinking to pursue PhD research for their lifetime, this is a very intelligent piece of advice which Dr. Sampath just gave, that you should know your ground firsthand and do as much as extensive research, review literature you have to do, understand it, bring up your questions, and then pursue it. And I believe that the potential India has, they can be leader. They are already leader in so many places. Take the example of ISRO. We have done something which not many people have done around the world, even with the latest technologies, whatever bring like edge cutting technology they are doing. But still, what I believe is it is the passion which drives you. So if I have to ask Dr. Sampath, what was the passion? As you said, it was by chance, but the chance cannot stand or stay forever. Sometime at some point of time, you might have just chose that you want to be this, but nothing else. And when you are so passionate about your research, you just have committed yourself to research. And that's when you feel and face these challenges. How do you overcome that? Or what do you suggest for the young researchers, how to overcome and how to cope up with those?
Yeah, I think I partly answered this part earlier. So the first one is, though it was by chance, once you commit to something, then there's no backing off or trying to renegotiate your thinking, saying that, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? And, oh, is it too hard for me? Is it too... So once that's the level of commitment that one should have. And I believe every researcher out there who wants to enter into research, do your homework properly, because once you enter into a different discipline, be it health science, be it insect science, be it molecular biology, whatever. So different facets of science and research that we are doing. So once you enter into a different, say, there's no backing off. So it's not like you do 3-4 years of research and say, okay, this is not interesting, or the job market is not so good. There are very less institutions who are taking people like us with these specializations and so on. And you cannot come back. So if you just lose a year also in trying to identify what is your niche, what is that keeps you going for next 30 years, because the time spent here, like 1 or 2 years that you are going to look for all these opportunities, and from those 2 years after you complete your PhD for another 4 or 5 years, total a matter of around 4 to 6 years that you are going to spend, is equivalent to next 40 to 60 years of your life. So be very cautious. There's always a buzz around once you complete your post-graduation as what next. And then there'll be like, okay, we start applying for jobs, we start applying for internships elsewhere, and whatever you get, okay, I got something, because there's peer pressure. Somebody else will be asking, somebody else at home, there'll be restlessness and so on. So just stay calm. Okay, it's your time. You have completed your master's. It's your time. Just hold back yourself. There can be emotions running high, but just hold back to say, okay, let me take a few days or few months of time to understand myself as to what I need to do for my rest of 40 years. So once you decide that, that's when it makes a lot of things much easier for you.
Brilliant way to put this thing in words. I think I am a fan of you now. So everybody, this is your investment for your rest of the life. So just consider that. And then I think you just transformed doing PhD now, where people were just thinking this is a degree, I have to spend these many years. But now when you say that it is the investment for next 40 years, now everything changes.
Yeah,
Very
but
good.
that's when you put in more effort to identify. So see, because you would have spent 6 years of your hard work trying to become an expert on something, and probably if the job market is not there, if the regulatory approvals are not there, if there is no scope for you to continue what you have studied for 6 years, it's your unique work. So unlike your degree, wherein somebody would have learned all these things and they would teach you at that time during degree, but in your PhD you would have explored something new. That's why you are being awarded a degree, right? So if you are not in a position to use what you actually explored, then that frustration keeps you there till the end of your lifetime. So for you to invest that, so I think I was fortunate enough during my PhD, I sort of interacted with all the postgraduate students who joined biological sciences, and I should really take few names, but I don't know how appropriate it is to take it here. They were
Please
so
feel
very
free.
good at it.
Please feel free. You can
So
name
they were so
anyone.
good. So they were so good at it from the beginning that they wanted to do something with aquatic biology. So they were like, I should become a deep sea diver. I should explore the oceans, and that's the core idea they have from the young age itself. So they shape it up so well that they want to do something in aquatic research, marine research, and so on. And so now she is in marine research as well. So somebody is interested in wildlife, somebody was interested in wood science, and so on. So everybody were at that point of time having a niche, like, okay, I want to study this aspect of it. Somebody were interested in knowing mechanisms of different molecules and so on, somebody in genetics. So for the biggest advantage which I had was I was able to see all them see, oh, they're so very focused. What should I do? So that brought a sense of feeling in me that, okay, this is my niche, my domain. So I invest more time and effort in trying to make this domain more clear for me.
So this brings us to towards the end of our show. So now, starting with when you said that relatives initially, when you joined PhD, they were excited. Oh, wow, you are doing PhD. And over a period of years, they're like, you are still doing PhD. And then that's when the support, and when you get, you are more focused. When you see your peers, they are so focused. So you also start thinking about it. So what is the role of family and friends in here when you are going through all these roller coaster emotions? Would you like to say something on that?
I think I'm very shy person, so I don't have too many friends around to just. I had few friends who were all. I think they had also registered for PhD programs who were as confused as I was. So during their course of time, I think they also experienced the same roller coaster rides. But the biggest boon I had was my family. So they were very, very supportive. So I think that's one of the key aspects that would help you garner your resources well, because during the course of your journey, which takes around 6 years after your post-graduation, that's very crucial, because a lot of things changes soon after your completion of degree. There can be instances wherein you'll have to shoulder the family responsibilities. A couple of years later, there'll be instances wherein you'll have to get married, start a new life, and so on. So there are a lot of transitions that will be going on during those 6 years post your post-graduation. And it's very important that that phase of life wherein these transitions takes place, the people around you know exactly or guide you properly. So first thing is they should know exactly as to what will happen after you complete your degree. So there's no wonderful things happening like as soon after I complete my PhD, I'll be offered 1 lakh salary per month and I'll be like on the red carpet being invited by all the other professional companies and so on. Or they should be leading you to say, okay, take your time. It's your research. You'll not be getting results. There'll be a lot of turmoil around. Every day you go to the lab, do the experiments. It's a failure. And you come back with the same josh and say, okay, we'll do it again. So probably it's like RCB winning the IPL Cup. So every time we come back, Isala Cup namte. So we always go back, and we just try to say that some point of time, the family is the one which, family and friends are the one who just keep that guarded for you from all the four corners, so that you are not being vulnerable to the outside world. So I think the support of family and friends is very, very essential to take this transition phase forward.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sampath, for sharing your views. And for everyone, next time we will bring a researcher from early stage of PhD, because I think till now what we have listened, what we have heard is from intermediate or established researchers. Now let's hear from what a freshman has to say. And with this, I would like to thank Dr. Sampath for today and giving us time. And I hope this should help so many upcoming researchers in future, and they can directly contact Dr. Sampath, or they can contact us, and then we can put you in contact with Dr. Sampath. Thank you, Dr. Sampath.
Thank you so much.